to Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress is the goal. I am your host, Andrea Gebhardt. I'm a former educator turned passionate entrepreneur whose desire to create impact has never wavered. I've spent the last decade teaching, mentoring, and coaching people on how to create success in their lives and businesses with proven strategies and systems that not only bring about change, but big results. When it comes down to it, teaching is my specialty, leadership is my jam, and inspiring you to live a bigger, fuller life is what I'm all about. This podcast will give you the knowledge and tools you need to brew success in almost any area of your life. You're going to walk away each week feeling inspired, motivated, and ready to step outside your comfort zone and into the next level of who you're meant to be. Now let's get into today's episode. Today we are going to talk about persistence, what I like to call the underdog of success, why it matters, and how to develop it. It's funny, I mentor a lot of people, and when I ask them to rate themselves or their leadership when it comes to persistence, often they rate themselves very high, and rightfully so. I mean, they have gotten this far, right? Persistence paves the way for progress. However, when I ask what types of things, events, people, or situations make them question their abilities, make them want to give up or give in, they often have a list already in mind, and therein lies the truth. Their level of persistence really isn't that high because they've already made a predetermined list of quit points. You see, when you have a high level of persistence, quitting isn't an option. Giving up isn't a solution. Nope, the persistent, in those times, they lean in and they get gritty. By definition, persistence is firm or obstinate continuance in a course of action in spite of difficulty or opposition. In spite of difficulty or opposition, meaning to carry on even when it's hard or challenging. Too many people these days, I'm going to tell you right now, they give up too soon and they give in when things become difficult or the moment adversity arises. We see it everywhere. We see it in relationships, we see it in jobs, entrepreneurial ventures, kids with friendships and homework and all the things. Basically, persistence is the quality of giving up. So how would you rate your level of persistence on a scale of 1 to 5? 5 being, I fight till the end. I ain't going anywhere. I am in it. I am all in. 3, you're wishy-washy. Your level of persistence sways based on how you feel or what's happening or how bad your feelings got hurt or how big the obstacle is. And 1, you're a 1 if the minute an obstacle reveals itself, you're ducking out. You're peace out, homie. This ain't for me. So honestly, where would you rate yourself? Most people are more than likely somewhere between a 2 and a 3, which baffles me because most people, and even you, even me, we've already been through something and overcome challenges that were life altering. We've already beat the odds and overcome so much. Yet it's almost as if we've forgotten the level of persistence it took to get through the thing that we got through. So much so that when we encounter another hiccup or the first tribulation, we're ready to throw in the towel. How does that happen? I want you to think back to a time when you were in absolute struggle, facing the biggest, hardest, soul-wrenching hurdle of your life. That could have occurred in early childhood, adolescence, early adulthood, could have happened last week. You could be in it right now. I want you to think back to how you thought you would never get through it. About how hard it was to move throughout the day with the weight of it on your shoulders and in your heart. How debilitating it was, how annoyed you were when people said, this too shall pass, when you struggled to function, when the challenge seemed so big, You couldn't even imagine what life was going to be like on the other side, when everything inside of you just wanted to throw in the towel, but you didn't. Something inside of you wouldn't allow it. Call it a voice, call it a feeling, call it intuition, call it whatever you want. But something inside of you told you you had to persist, you had to push through. And you know what? You did. And I'm sure that today, now, as you look back, you can see that that hard time taught you something, made you better, grew you in ways that only that experience could. And now you are here on the other side of that event or period in your life or season. You made it through. And that gave you what I like to call a persistence point. You see, a persistence point is something you earn when you get through the tough things. Persistent point, they add up and they generate levels of resilience and confidence. The more you overcome, the more persistence points you get to put on the board, the less obstacles have the ability to overcome you. Sometimes it's funny because I see people like, man, nothing ever takes her out. Nothing ever knocks her down. She's so resilient. She's so this, she's so that. When you see somebody out there who is incredibly resilient, here's what you need to understand. They have walked through the fire. They have already overcome so many incredible things. When something happens and they're cool, calm, and collected, and they're just like, oh, that's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll find a solution. No big deal. We'll, it is what it is. And let's figure this out. Like those people who just have this awkwardly like sound mind and sound soul when it goes to approaching problems and challenges, those people have racked up persistence points. Those people are resilient because they've already been through it. They've already overcome so much. They've already been through something so big and so hard and so challenging and so life-changing that there's probably really not anything else that can compete with how hard that was. So everything else from here on out is easy peasy. Have respect for those people and know that if you're someone who trips over the little things, gets taken out by the slightest wind, you got to learn to hang on to those hard moments a little bit longer and grow through them and learn through them and come out on the other side of them with a new level of knowledge and perspective and insight and experience. I always tell my team that you have to have appreciation for the hard things that you go through because they give you the skill set, the ability, and the tools to walk someone else through it. Every hard thing you have ever done, ever overcome, has gifted you with the opportunity to serve as a guide or a mentor in that space with someone else. And when we can grab a hold of that perspective and shift how we think about those things, it's almost like you can get excited. Like when's the next challenge coming? Not that you want to manifest it or anything, or you don't want to actually, want to attract challenges. But you're ready for them and you understand what they're there to do. They're there to teach you, grow you, shape you, refine you, right? So it's, my mentor, John Maxwell, says, all things worthwhile are uphill, which translates into the age-old saying that persistence pays off. Persistence really is about willingness to keep going even when it's hard, even when you have doubt, fears, no support, even when you have haters, even when you're in a season of adversity, of challenge. When most people encounter an obstacle, they immediately, this is so funny, I see it all the time, they immediately think it's a sign they should turn back and retreat. Something didn't work out, it's a sign. Someone said no, it's a sign. It's not a sign, you ding dong, it's a test. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that, but you silly, it's not a sign that you shouldn't keep going. It's not a sign that your idea was dumb. It's not a sign that you can't do it, that you're not good enough, that you're not a good writer, a good speaker, a good entrepreneur, a good anything. No, it's a test. The obstacle is the test to make sure you have what it takes, the determination, the courage, the commitment required to relish in the reward on the other side. You see, the obstacle is the test and persistence is the answer key. Do you want it bad enough? Do you believe in it big enough? Does it matter enough to you that you will keep going even when it's not easy? You see, persistence builds resistance to giving up and giving in. If we know that persistence is a required component for success, then we must work to develop it. So I want to share with you 5 ways you can develop persistence so that you are not only aware of it, but equipped to grow in this area. So number 1, know why what you are doing matters, meaning work with the end in mind. What are you even doing all of this for? Once you establish why it matters, what change it's going to make, what impact it's going to have, who it's going to benefit, let me tell you, it's a whole lot easier to work through the obstacles because you're fighting for someone, you're fighting for something, you're fighting for a cause. You are fighting for more than just that initial energy you had behind whatever it is that you're starting. Number 2, create habits that contribute to success. Create habits. Okay, let's just talk about it. Hi. You're the problem. It's you. You see, before you start a journey, here's what happens for everybody. We're like, I'm not happy with my life. I'm not happy with this. I'm not happy with that. Something's got to change. So they seek ways to change their life. So what we need to understand is there's like this really interesting thing that happens. It's this like big fat line that's drawn in the sand. Because who you were had habits that resulted in you not being successful, whatever those habits were. You seek change, and then you have to, if you actually want to become successful, you have to actually create habits that contribute to success because your old habits ain't working for you, right? They didn't get you where you wanted to go. They're not serving you. They're not growing you. They're not adding value to you. They're holding you back. They're derailing your success, all of those things. So we have to create habits that contribute to success. So that means that you have to plan and prepare for success. You have to define what your goal is. You got to divide or break it down into the actions that are required to reach that goal. And then you got to deploy it daily. Like, what do I need to do today to get a little closer? Every day you got to do something. If you want to be healthy, you got to eat healthy every day. If you want to be fit, you need to move your body every day. If you want to read a certain number of books every year, you got to read every day. If you want to write a book, you got to write every day. If you want to grow, you have to spend time on things that, are growing you every day. If you want to build a business, you got to talk to people every day. It's just kind of like how it works. Number 3, you have to bolster belief and boost self-image. There are always going to be moments of challenge that push against who we are, how far we've come, our beliefs, our abilities. We have to learn to dig deep and push forward, persist until it requires a major inward look. So we're going to have to establish what we believe in, what we're capable of, and what we deserve. Review this, especially during times of struggle. And I love this because it's so important. I'm going to say it again. I want you to establish what you believe in yourself. Like seriously, make a mental note. If you're listening to this, pause it, go grab a Post-it, go grab paper, go grab something. And I want you to establish your self-beliefs. I want you to write down the things that you're capable of. I'm capable of, I am capable, I am capable of, make a list. And write down what you deserve. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to be healthy. You deserve to have joy. You deserve to be loved. You deserve, think of all the things that you deserve. Establish what you believe in yourself. And in those moments when things suck and things aren't going the way that you thought, and when you've got people who aren't believing in you, aren't supporting your dream, aren't there for you, aren't showing up for you, you go back and review that. And you remind your dang self of who you are, what you're capable of, and what you deserve. And then you pull your pants up and you roll your shoulders back and you have a little look in the mirror and you get down to business. Okay? So then what you need to do is ink your identity. Ink your identity. You're not a quitter. Write that down. I'm not a quitter. Which means I can't quit because I'm not a quitter. I always figure it out. I am resourceful. I'm smart. I'm hardworking. I don't give up. And I always see things through. Imagine Imagine if you talked to yourself this way. Imagine if you inked your identity and you actually put it on paper. I'm not a quitter. I always figure it out. I'm resourceful. I'm smart. I'm hardworking. I don't give up. I always see things through. Be who you need to be to achieve what you want to achieve. If you have this big, fat, giant goal of being, a really successful podcaster, a really big leader, helping thousands of people have success, being a really great mom, being a really great teacher, whatever it is, whatever goal it is that you have for yourself, you got to show up now, today, as who you got to be to achieve what you want to achieve. So you got to start thinking now like that top leader. You got to start showing up now like that incredible entrepreneur. You have to start showing up now like that New York Times bestseller, my friend. That's what you got to do. You got to be who you need to be now to achieve what you want to achieve later. And then you close the gap on the time it actually takes to get there, because when you believe in yourself a little bit more, you actually accomplish a whole lot more. And it's awesome. So there is that. Number 4, we need to minimize distractions, which means we got to remove habits that subtract from our success. Guys, you know what they are. Eliminate them. We have to eliminate the noise, which means we're going to turn down the volume of other people's opinions and go back to our identity and our beliefs. And that is what we're going to turn the volume up on. We're going to turn down the noise of those people who aren't supportive and go surround ourselves more with the people who are. Turn down the noise, eliminate the noise, which also means BT dubs. Side note, that social media, if you're following accounts that make you feel like doo-doo caca, that steal your energy and make you feel like you're not good enough or you're not doing well enough, go eliminate those things. You don't need to watch 50 million women go decorate their porches for every single season and make you feel like a schlep because you're not decorating your porches, right? You need to eliminate those people who tell you how to grow on Instagram and do a bajillion reels and this algorithm, that, and this trending music, this and that, blah, 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 blah. It's all noise because you sit there and you watch it and all you do is compare yourself. I don't have that. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I'm not sure how to do that. I don't have the time for that. And instead of actually taking action, you just start to feel crummy and then you don't do anything. It's self-defeating. You're going to have to reduce relationships that aren't conducive to success. Hi. Here's the thing that you need to understand. When you are on a growth journey, when you are trying to be successful, when you are working towards something greater than the status quo, when you are operating outside your comfort zone, you are going to grow and change, which means you are going to outgrow people and relationships. And that is okay. That is okay. You can still love people, but not allow them in your circle of influence. You can still value and respect people, but don't go to them for their opinions or give their words as much weight as you once had. You want to reduce relationships that are not conducive to success. So if you have that friend who minimizes what you do, oh, your little business. I don't know why negative people always talk like that. It's weird. But those people, why? Be done. Be done. The people who are for you are for you. Never forget that. And the people whose words don't seem to be for you, guess what? They're not for you. You don't need them. Peace out. Bye. Right? Get rid of it. You got to set boundaries on things and people to protect your energy and your peace. Oh my gosh. Boundaries, boundaries, boundaries. Listen, I think everybody needs to go read a book on boundaries. I think everybody needs to understand what boundaries really are, that boundaries are really designed to protect you. Boundaries are not about other people. Boundaries are necessary. And when you figure out what boundaries you need to create and establish, my gosh, the immediate benefit that comes from that is absolutely huge. So side note, tuck it away in your brain. Go learn about that. Figure out what yours are. Put them into action. Number 5, we need to set pace and monitor progress. Okay, so it's so funny because when I first started my entrepreneurial journey, I was mentored to believe that if you weren't actively working, you were failing. And what that did for me, I mean, I remember when we go back to when I first started, I was an assistant principal of an elementary school. So I was working, 12-hour days, 3 little ones at home. And I was mentored to believe that if I wasn't working, I was failing. And I had to be on all the time and working all the time and fast paced all the time and like in it, at it, in it, at it. And it almost would like created this really interesting like psychological effect where I felt like if I wasn't working, like if I was like hanging out with my kids, I felt guilty. If I went to an event with friends or I was hanging out with family or went to the movies or went out to eat or anything else and I wasn't working, I felt shame. And it kind of created a little bit of like a monster. And I started, attaching way too much emotional weight to this whole idea and this notion. Now, let me just tell you, that was bad mentoring. I had a bad mentor, like terrible, horrible mentor. But I didn't know that at the time. So I want to tell you, as your mentor right now, I want to tell you that you need to be okay with running and walking. Think about it. The very first time you ran the mile, like the very first time, let's okay, I want to share a funny story with you. If you're drinking something, just swallow and put it down because you might spit something on it in a minute. And if you have to go to the bathroom, you might want to just hang tight. Okay, but like when we talk about first running that mile, let me just share this with you guys. I hated in junior high, I hated running the mile. And it felt like we ran the mile every day. And we probably didn't. We probably only had to run a lap and a mile every Friday. And my former PE teacher is one of my really good friends today. So Jill, if you're listening to this, Miss Pettibone, if you're listening to this, no, but it's funny because like I hated running. I absolutely hated it. And there was no way to get out of it. I don't know what would happen. I would run and I would get these terrible side aches and I couldn't breathe. And I just hated it. It was miserable. And so I was like, well, how can I get out of this? And what I would do is I would literally get to a backstop. There were like 2 backstops on like opposing angles of the track that we ran on. And I would pretend to pass out. I would like legit faint, like pass out. I would like fall in the dirt, roll around, like squint through my lashes, trying to see if anybody noticed me. I'd like make sure I wasn't going to get trampled on. And then the girls would run over. Oh my gosh, you're okay? Like, oh, I fainted. I don't know what's wrong with me. I just can't. It's so hot out here. They're like, Andrea, it's December. It's so freezing out here. And like, and I get up and I'm like all slow moving, like the acting job of my life. And they're like, I was like, you guys don't tell the teacher. Like I passed out. I fainted. I can't run anymore. And like they would go, Mrs. Snelly, Miss Pettibone, Andrea passed out behind the backstop. I don't think she should be running. And I get to go sit on the side of the field, not have to run. And like literally this was like a pattern for me. Like every week I was like passing out until at one point it was like kind of now a concern of the school nurse. Like, why does she pass out? Like every time she runs. Created my own little problem there. But like my teacher's like, why do you keep trying to ducking out of running? Because it's hard and it sucks. And I don't like the way it feels. Like it's not fun. Like, can't we do something else? And she was like, how about this? How about you first, let's get your breathing under control, right? So let's learn how to breathe while we're running. Number 2, she was like, what if you just ran the straights and walked the backstops? And I was like, I can walk. Okay. So I tried that out and I successfully completed the mile for like the very first time by walking and running. And therein lied like a big fat life lesson. You can still be successful at any given pace. Now, my mile time wasn't fantastic or amazing, but I still got it done. I still got the grade. I still learned a lot about myself in those moments. And believe it or not, I actually ended up being a track runner in high school with records and all that kind of stuff. Short distance, though, never anything long because still not my jam. So all of you guys who love to run, yay you, not for me. But I want you to be okay with running and walking. Pace yourself and be okay with both. Endurance is the long game. It's endurance. It's not how fast you can reach the goal. It's how long you can stay in it. How long you can stay in it. And I think that's something that we need to really learn to come to appreciate and understand when it comes to our leadership journey, our entrepreneurial journey, just in success in general. Listen, if you just started a business, like if you try to run at a pace of a record holding, gosh, that was really hard to say, world record holding marathoner, you're gonna burn out, you're gonna fall, you're gonna hurt yourself. It's not going to happen. You're going to assume that it's not for you and you're not going to continue, and they're going to miss out on like your whole dream and your whole purpose and potential, like all the things. So endurance is the long game. Find out what your pace is. Find out what works for you. Put your blinders on and don't worry about how fast or how slow or how anyone else is going. This is your journey. This is your race. This is your dream. Find a pace that works for you and work in that pace. The next thing is you're going to want to set progress points, which are small goals, to keep you on track and give energy to your efforts. Progress creates energy. Energy creates action. Action leads to success. You being persistent matters. You resisting the temptation to give up and quit matters. You continuing to chase out a day of the goal, the dream, it matters. Can you imagine all the ways our lives would be different if some of the greatest inventors, writers, singers, creators, entrepreneurs hadn't followed through? They gave up when they were shot down. All the ways and all the things we would be missing out on in this life, or how life would be drastically different if key people simply lacked persistence. I want you to realize the significance of this. Recognize how one individual, your persistence, paves the way for others, creates undeniable impact, and generates more opportunity out there in the world. Your persistence, do you guys hear me? Like, your persistence paves the way for others. Your persistence is what's going to create undeniable impact and generate more opportunity out there in the world. That's why you have to show up. That's why you have to keep going. That's why you can't quit. Somebody else's dream is dependent on you reaching yours. Somebody else needs to walk the trail that you're going to blaze. And can you imagine? Could you imagine not blazing that trail, and that little girl is just standing there on a roadside like, I really have this huge dream, but like that lady, she didn't blaze that trail for me. Now what? Come on, we got to do better. Most people, you know what? Most people give up when it gets hard. Most people give in when success isn't reached in an ideal timeline. Most people walk away from what matters most to them because quitting is easier than digging deep and addressing inner issues that create outer problems, but not you. You're different. It's why you are here right now, learning this, doing this. It's why you are given this opportunity to build what you're building with the people that you're doing it with this right now, this time in your life. You've been given a way to make it happen. Now it's up to you to see it through. Persistence is the underdog of success. Don't quit. Don't give up. Give it all you've got and keep going. You guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Brewing Success. I hope you now understand how important persistence is. And now I hope you have the tools you need to work to develop your own level of persistence as you are on your journey. If you didn't catch it all, come back, re-listen, grab those steps, and share this episode with your team, with your friends, with somebody who needs to learn a little bit more about not giving up so quickly and not giving in when things get hard. You guys, thank you again for joining me here on Brewing Success, where growth is the mission, change is the reward, and progress